let's bring him in. Wade Graham, senior player in the game, and a man who we've known for a long, long time. And now there we go. He knows how to do the FaceTime.
He's done this before.
He's got the panorama.
Plus, he's handsome.
Oh, geez, that's a loose interpretation. Hey. How are you holding up, Wade?
Yeah, interesting times, isn't it, for everyone? So much like everyone else at the moment in society, just sort of treading water and waiting to see, how this all eventuates, and just trying to dig the heels in and get through this tough period.
Wade, this morning we spoke to Trent Robertson and he gave us an indication of where they are at with their playing roster and staff and information. Where are you guys at Cronulla? What's the next step for you guys?
Well, we had a meeting this morning. And that was pretty much just for the CEO to relay all the information he'd received over the last 24 to 48 hours from the NRL about the recommendations to suspend the league. We spoke about, well, there's still a lot of water to go under the bridge and, all sorts of scenarios about getting the season back on track and, developments with how the virus is actually going and, government regulation. So there's still a lot to be determined, but we had initial discussions about what training looks like in self-isolation at home. We've provided some I suppose minimum training gear to take home with us, and it had the group, gave the group an opportunity sort of just to connect and some of the players and staff to ask some questions and try and get as much information across as possible with the uncertain time at the moment.
Wade, you had a great leader in Gal for a long, long time. He was your leader. Expectation on you being the new captain now at the Sharks. How have you found that?
Yeah, well, obviously it's been pretty turbulent with what's going on, mate. I don't think, it's hard for anyone to know what the right path to do is in a circumstance like this because no one's really gone through it before. So, the biggest thing, the messaging I've been trying to get across to our playing group is we're all in it together. Not just, rugby league is one industry. Everyone's struggling at the moment in different circumstances, family circumstances. So the whole world is going through this together. So we just have to, try and dig in and sit tight, communicate with each other, support each other, and then just try and ride this tough time out and see where we end up.
Yeah, Wade, is there anything that you got at the clubs there to look after the younger kids that are coming through and the guys that probably aren't on the same wages or haven't experienced anything like this before? This would be quite intimidating.
Yeah, well, I think it's intimidating to everyone, to be honest.
True.
So everyone's got different scenarios. Whether you are the minimum wage guy who's just starting out your career, or you do earn higher money. Everyone has different demands on their life, or
mortgages, expectations,
investments, things they've committed to based on their financial position and strategy. So everyone's feeling the pinch at the moment, and at this stage, because the virus, and the circumstances around the government policies and that are moving so fast, everyone's adjusting on the run. So it's hard to work out what the path forward is going to look like for everyone on an individual level. But at this stage, like I said, the messaging is just sit tight and dig in and let's try and ride out this tough period. And we'll have to just take it as it comes and try to make the best out of this tough situation.
Well, one thing I think that's going to change no matter what happens is spending is going to change forever in the game. Peter V'landys now will have a mandate to just change the structures and we'll have to look at things a different way. And it might mean less coaches, less ancillary stuff. That's terrible because it means a lot of people are going to be out of work. It also might mean, I sense, if we have to cut fat everywhere, that sports science might take a back seat. Des Hasler was famous at Canterbury for spending mountains of money and then goes to Manly where they're not exactly flush for funds and first year takes them to the finals. Would it be the worst thing in the world, Wade, if we lost a lot of that science, that sports science, if those, I don't want to call them excesses, but those additional touches that have professionalised the game more all of a sudden aren't available?
Yeah, well, it's going to be, depending on how the landscape, changes and turns out after after this, it's something that all clubs are going to have to look at. And the game, like you said, the game itself has to look at is the expenditure and what, probably have to make up, the priority list and what those priorities are. And, for a while now, there'll have to be some adjustments, on sort of all levels, individual levels, whether it's club, players, the game, just what those top priorities are and what, what the game can survive without until we have more clarity and more security in the way forward.
How's the family, Wade? I know you've got a little boy, and I think you got one on the way, don't you, Wados?
Yeah, I've got one. My missus is 8 months pregnant, so it's a very uncertain time for us. Obviously, we're very, very excited, but the talk in the over the last few weeks about possible relocation of the game and the measures we might have to take to keep the game going. These are discussions we had at home pretty much weekly, but as I said before, we aren't the only ones going through it. It's a global crisis at the moment. So everyone, every individual has a circumstance that they're dealing with, and we're just all trying to make our way through it together.
Were you okay with that? If you're in a unique situation. You got a bub a month away. If the NRL said, right, we're going to Gladstone or we're going to Sydney Olympic Park and we're putting everyone at the Novotel, but you can't see your family, would you put your hand up?
Well, it's a conversation that we did have. Hypothetically speaking, in my situation, it's tough. My partner's from Canada, so she has no family, family around. So we would have had to rely heavily on my family. But at the end of the day, if it came to the crunch and that's what I had to do to, go and work and support my family, it's a sacrifice I would have to make. And I think we've seen in the game, the sacrifices that the New Zealand Warriors club made just to give the game an opportunity to keep going. Like there was no certainty that it was going to continue at all, really, at one stage. And then we all sort of knew at some point there was a highly likely chance that the game would have to close down for a while. But what those guys did, just by giving the game an opportunity to sort out its problems and just try and navigate its way through, I think if it had come to the crunch, most people would do what they had to do to support their families and support the game.
So everyone's quick to have an opinion on all the situations that were going on with the Warriors and all the footy sides, and to hear it from the horse's mouth like Wade, it changes your whole perspective, right?
It's twofold for poor old Wade with his wife.
Yeah.
Coming from Canada. It's bad.
How would you have gone in seclusion, Block?
I don't think I'm really good.
No, I don't think you're built for that.
I'm not great in this one, actually.
Wade, we're just talking about when you guys go back, just say the league says, all right, it's game time. You've got 2 weeks to prepare, 3 weeks, whatever it may be. Are you concerned about fitness levels or your mentality, or are you just ready to rock? Do you think you guys will be in good enough shape to just get back into it?
Oh, you'd like to think so. I suppose the biggest thing is if we, like I said before, there's still a lot of scenarios and water to go under the bridge. But if we could get some possible certainty around a start date, I think players these days and how easily it is to communicate. Even if I was in home isolation, it'd be tough to obviously get the running load in. But if we had some dates and certainty to set out, you could keep yourself, I think, at a professional level enough to at least keep ticking over, and then hopefully. Hopefully have a couple of weeks up your sleeve to get a little bit of running load and to build your fitness back up. But again, we're all in uncharted territory here, and we're all, like I said before, we're all in together. So if we get some certainty and get through this period and just a bit of clarity around what different scenarios look like, I think a player in their head will be able to set some goals and to tick things over to give themselves the best opportunity to continue on in the game.
What are you going to do to fill in the time? Are you a FIFA man or are you Xbox? What's you know what he needs to do, Wade?
He's got a young child. He's got a young boy.
I understand, but that's he's going to be stuck at home. But Foxtel have put out their top 100 movies, by the way, to download and to stream. We'll get into that shortly. But how are you going to fill in this time, Wado?
Well, I think for me, I'll have to look at setting up some structure, some relative structure around the house. Players by nature have structure given to them through training. You know what time you need to be at training, what time your weights are, what time you go home. So you have a lot of structure given to you from the club. So left to our own devices, I'll certainly have to structure something. You know, I know if I don't structure it myself, my missus will have a list of me to do anyway. So I'm pretty sure I'll be covered here at home with keeping myself busy.
All right, well, I get the feeling we just gave him about 15 minutes of relief. Did you, the bubba crying in the background? We're happy to keep you on for 2 hours if it gets you out of any duties, Wade.
Well, I've got nothing but time, fellas.
All right, mate, keep your chin up and you'll be... Oh, hang on. Very quickly, what about Blocker's idea? What was your idea? Put 30 blokes in each Origin squad and Wade would be part of Origin.
Only if we come to the end date where we can't play any more
NRL.
NRL. Say have 3 Origins in a row. Pick 30 blokes each, Queensland and New South Wales.
There he is.
Fella, and then play Sunday, just for the fans to get a bit of rugby league.
Yeah, well, I think all ideas need to be explored. When we get some more clarity and possibly certainty around when the season may be able to continue, we need to put everything on the table to try and get the footy going, get the revenue coming back into the game. Hopefully at some point we know when crowds are allowed back in, and I think if we could have some clarity around the crowds, the crowds would be allowed back in. I'd schedule Origin for that first weekend back when the crowds are allowed back in, just to kick it back off.
Oh, yeah, that would be a way to kick it off. How did you find it? By the way, what's your bubba's name? He's a dead set ringer for your mum. He's beautiful. He's a dead set ringer for mum.
His name's William.
William.
How old?
He's 18 months.
Geez, a well-behaved little boy, isn't he? Normally, when the bubba gets up and, they're playing with the microphone and they're reaching out for the camera. How did you find playing? That was a tight game against Melbourne, as it always is, Cronulla, Melbourne. How'd you find it with no crowd?
It was a little bit strange to start with. I felt it more just in the warm-up, really. The warm-up and it just had that little bit of eeriness around because there was no crowds. But, once you get into the game and, Bromwich and Nelson are trying to rip your head off, mate, you click in the gear pretty much straight away. So the footy nature took over and it turned into a typical Cronulla and Melbourne game, didn't it?
I reckon you hold your own in that regard, mate. Yeah. Those guys, you're going after them.
We all do, mate. We all do.
They got you at the death. Bit of experience there. But, mate, thank you for joining us, mate. And rest up. Enjoy the time off.
Thanks, boys. Have a good one. And, maybe chat soon.